Welcome, everyone. Feel free to put your camera on. Hare Krishna, Johan.
Hare Krishna.
Nice to see you.
Me too. The same for me. Ekacakragram.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I see I see the name Eva. I don't see Eva, but I see the name. We wait a few more minutes to see if other members will join. It's the first time that we do it. I mean, it's not the first time that we do a Zoom meeting, but it's the first time that we want to reach out to the members. I'm easy to hear. Is it loud enough?
Yes, yeah? Yes, it is.
Sound is good.
Yeah, perfect.
That's nice. So we wait one more minute. There were a few other members who wanted to join, but they couldn't join this time. Therefore, it's recorded. And, it's nice to see Luke also. Hare Krishna, Luke.
Hare Krishna. Pleasure to see you.
It's good to see you. Oh, look at there. We have Raja Bhakti, and we have Keshava, Ram Keshava, Prabhu. Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
These are two thieves amongst our members. They always steal nectar everywhere. Raja Bhakti, Ram Keshava.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Anastasia.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nice to see you as well. Is your mother also? Your mother is also there?
No, she has another class with someone, and she doesn't understand really good English. So.
Oh, okay. I'm very happy that you're here, Anastasia.
Me too.
I think you're the youngest participant today. But it's good. And we have Hilda. Hare Krishna, Hilda.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for joining. It's very nice. And let's see. And we have Eva. And so welcome. I'm very happy that we can have this session. I will share my screen in a minute. I just wanted to inform you that we would like to do this at least once a month. And maybe we could increase it in the future, but it's just a tryout. And the reason why we want to do this is because during Members' Day in May, there were quite a few members who expressed their desire that a little bit more education would be there. Some more association also, because many of you and me also, we live in two worlds. We have our daily life and maybe our work that we do. And we also have our spiritual life, and it's very important. I think Anastasia, she is on school, so your whole day you're busy with school and with homework, and others, they work the whole day, they're busy with family, but there is not always the opportunity to go to Radhadesh and to associate with the devotees. or to follow classes. So therefore the request was to have a little bit more sangha, more association with the devotees. So that's why I pushed it a little bit to have this monthly session. I must warn you, because I always wake up very early at 3:15 or 3:30. And my wife always says that after 7 o'clock, I should not talk too much anymore because my concentration level is a little bit low. So better that you go to bed already and, you know. But I will give it a try. And if it's not okay, we will schedule the next month a little bit earlier or in the weekends. Let's see, but I'm inspired. So what I want to do is, it's a little bit of a tryout, but I think the basis of our spiritual life is, I think, Bhagavad-gita, right? So some time ago, I compiled my top 10 or top 11 favorite Bhagavad-gita slokas. So I think the selection that I made is are amongst the most famous verses of the Bhagavad-gita, and I think we will not be able to go over all the 11 verses today, but we could start and see where it ends. I think it's already nice to discuss a few verses of the Bhagavad-gita. Is that okay for you?
Yes.
I usually receive the feedback from members and devotees that if you're alone and you read Bhagavad-gita, it's not always so easy. But when you discuss it in group, then it becomes more relevant and relishable. So I will share my screen. Share. Do you see my screen?
Yes,
Blessed with instructions is what you see?
it's okay.
Okay. Good. Let me see if I can put this a little bit here. Yeah, okay. So Blessed with Instructions is the title of the little presentation. I would like to also mention that probably if you would make a selection of your favorite verses, they might be different than my selection. And maybe Hilde has a different selection and Johan has a different selection. And it could also very well be that if you ask me in 3 years to make a new selection, that the favorite verses of the Gita will be different because of the period of your life, the circumstances, the mindset. Sometimes, I don't know if you have that experience, but when you read Bhagavad-gita, sometimes suddenly one verse is wow, and the next time when you read it, it doesn't say much, and another verse is wow. You have that sometimes? That's, different times, different verses talk to you. So anybody of you knows what is the meaning of Bhagavad-gita?
Song of Krishna.
It's the song of?
Krishna.
Yeah, it's a song of Krishna. Gita means actually to sing. It's a song, Gita. And Bhagavad is a Sanskrit word for actually two words, Bhaga and Van. You see many times the word Van, and Van means you possess something. So what does Krishna possess? Bhaga, and Bhaga means opulences. All the virtues Krishna has in full, like all the beauty, all the fame, all the knowledge, all the renunciation, like that, all the strength. So any virtue that you can see in this world, Krishna has them in full, and therefore he's called Bhagavan. So Bhagavad Gita means the song of that person who has all the knowledge, all the beauty, all the strength. In other words, it's the Son of God. Yes? If you have questions, you may always interrupt. I would like some interaction with you. So it's about the main instructions in the Bhagavad-gita. But before we start, there is a beautiful verse. This is composed by Lord Shiva himself. Lord Shiva, when he heard the Bhagavad-gita, then he was in ecstasy. Even Lord Shiva is in ecstasy when he hears the Bhagavad-gita. And he spoke 8 verses, and these verses are called the Gita Mahatmya. Mahatmya means glorification of the Bhagavad-gita. So this is not a verse of the Gita, but it's a verse that glorifies the Bhagavad-gita. It says, Maline mochanam pumsam jala shnanam dine dine sakrit gitam ritam shnanam samsara mala nashanam. It's very beautiful. Maline means dirt. There's impurities or dirty things. Mochanam, you see that many times. Moksha or mukti means liberate, to liberate. So you get liberation from dirt. Pumsam means a human being. So a human being gets purified from dirt. How is a human being getting purified from dirt? It's mentioned here, jala shnanam. Jala means water, and shnanam means a shower or a bath. Like if you want purified from makes sense. Clean your body, you take shower. So maline, mochanam pumsam, jala shnanam dine dine. If you want to become clean, you have to take a shower every day. But then it says, Sakrit Gita Amritam Shnanam. But if you take a deep, deep bath in the waters of the holy Bhagavad-gita, then samsara mala nashanam. Then all the dirt from all your lifetimes in the past, all your impurities in the heart, all the traumas from the past, all your attachment from the past, they will all be washed away by the holy waters of the Bhagavad-gita. So it's a very beautiful verse. One may cleanse himself daily by taking a bath in the water. But if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganges water of the Bhagavad-gita, for him or her, the dirt of material life is altogether vanquished. So this is a glorification from Lord Shiva about the Bhagavad-gita. Now, if we talk about taking a bath, it means you really absorb yourself deeply in the water, right? So if you want to become cleansed from all dirt from previous lifetimes, then you really have to absorb yourself in the Bhagavad-gita. In other words, you read Bhagavad-gita again and again and again and again. Become completely absorbed in the Gita. Clear?
Yes.
Any questions on that? I think it's nice to, before we open the Gita, that we remember this verse. If you really get absorbed in the Gita, you get washed from all your attachments, all your impurities, all your bad qualities in your heart. Okay? So as I mentioned, maybe you have also a top 3 or a top 5 of most appealing verses for you, but I have made a compilation of verses, actually in total 11 verses, that for me are very essential in spiritual life. So I would like to go over a few of them today, and we will see how far we will get. Do you maybe have Any one of you has a favorite verse that you really think this is one of my key verses in life? Any one of you?
Okay.
Any one of you remembers a verse from the Gita?
Mhm.
No? It is nice to sometimes learn a verse by heart, Sanskrit and English, or Sanskrit and Dutch, or Sanskrit and French, whatever language you prefer. Okay. So first of all, very beautiful verse for me is you have to approach a spiritual master. I will go to the verse a little bit later on. Before we start anything in Krishna Consciousness, when we give a lecture or we start Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gita recitations, you might have heard this verse, Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. You have heard that verse before?
Yes.
Usually we chant this verse before we start speaking on the Bhagavad-gita. So it means I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I offer my deep, humble obeisances to the spiritual master. Why do we offer our obeisances to him? Because I was born in a very dark consciousness without any knowledge. But when I came in contact with Srila Prabhupada, then he really opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, and therefore I'm very grateful to him. That is what it means. Or here, Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langaite girim yat kripatamaham vande sigurum dinatarinam. We also hear that verse regularly chanted by the speaker. And there it says that I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the deliverer of fallen souls, who, by whose mercy, dumb persons who cannot speak become eloquent speakers, and lame persons become able to cross mountains. In other words, I might be a complete fool, but by the mercy of my spiritual master, he makes me speak eloquent poetry. So if we become empowered by the spiritual master, then we can grow in spiritual life. So this is the verse. It's 4:34. You are free to make some notes if you want. Then later on you can read these verses for yourself. I chose this verse as the first one in the presentation because I will first read the translation for you. So the verse goes like this: Tat vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Tattvadarshina means seer of the truth. So just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge into you because they have seen the truth. So the very beginning of spiritual life for me is when you come in contact with a spiritual master, like, for example, Srila Prabhupada. In my case, I remember when I was 17 or 18, maybe 16, 17, 18, I became very interested in philosophy, but I was a complete atheist. And I started to read Buddhist books and some spiritual philosophies, but I didn't believe in God. So I couldn't really make sense of what is the origin of everything and what is the purpose of our life. As soon as I read the introduction of the Bhagavad-gita from Srila Prabhupada, everything started to make sense. It was like, almost like you're in a in a complete dark environment, and suddenly somebody puts on the light, switches on the light, everything becomes clear. That was my experience when I met Srila Prabhupada's books for the first time. Really, literally from day one, when I opened Bhagavad-gita, it made so much sense. Everything that I knew, everything that I developed as knowledge started to fall into place. But I'm sure you have that same experience, no? That as soon as you came in contact with the clear philosophy of Bhagavad-gita, then everything started to make sense. So for me, this is a very important verse. Sorry, I'm going too fast. When we talk about spiritual masters, there are actually four kinds of spiritual masters. Anyone knows the names of the different kinds of spiritual masters that are existing? Can you think of a kind of spiritual master, a category? Who is Guru? Johan, any idea?
Diksha,
What are the...
Diksha,
Huh?
Diksha and Shiksha Guru.
But now you mentioned already two, Raja Bhakti.
Oh,
It's good.
sorry.
No, it's good.
Oh,
Very
okay.
good. These are the most common known categories. So you have Diksha Guru and you have Shiksha Guru. Actually, a Diksha Guru is the guru who officially initiates you with a fire sacrifice, and that guru gives you the mantra, like the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Spiritual Master gives us the mantra, and we promise a few things to the Spiritual Master, like I will not anymore eat any meat and fish and eggs. I will refrain from intoxication. I will have no illicit sex. I will not do any gambling. And I promise to chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And then the Spiritual Master says, okay, now your name is Braja Bhakti. You remember, huh? Braja Bhakti? And your name is Ram Keshava. I was initiated in 1991 by His Holiness Lokanath Swami in Mayapur Dham in India. And I clearly remember that I really tried hard to remember the 4 regulative principles. I was very nervous. I could tell them every day, every minute, but at that moment when I sat before my spirit master, it was like complete blackout. But when I managed to do it, then he said, your name is Ekacakragram. I immediately forgot my name. So I paid my obeisance. I said, thank you, Guru Maharaj. And then I didn't know at all what my name was. So later on, I had to go back to him and ask what was my name. So that's Diksha Guru. That's the spiritual master who officially links you to the disciplic succession from guru to disciple. That's called the Guru Parampara. And Parampara means they hand over the tradition, the knowledge, the scriptures to the disciple. So that's Diksha Guru. The other category is Shiksha Guru, and Shiksha literally means in Sanskrit is to instruct or to teach. Shiksha means instructions. So that spiritual master is usually a spiritual master that is quite close to you in your area, somebody who visits regularly the temple. It doesn't have to be a sannyasi, it can also be a grihasta or a brahmachari. A senior devotee that is knowledgeable, it's like also here, like you see here, Tattvadarshina, somebody who has seen the truth, somebody that lives the truth, somebody that walks the truth, somebody who is experienced in practicing spiritual life on a daily basis and who has deep realizations. That is the Shiksha Guru. Now, Srila Prabhupada many times says that usually the Shiksha Guru, the one who gives you the most instructions, that person later on becomes your Diksha Guru. Usually that's how it should develop. But it can also be that somebody is traveling, you are very inspired by that senior devotee, you take initiation, and then apparently due to time and circumstances, that spiritual master lives at the other side of the planet, and we live here, and he lives in Australia, for example. So, and he has maybe 10,000 disciples. So if you want an instruction, if you have something on your mind that you have doubts on, and you want to approach him, you don't never get a reply because that spiritual master cannot answer 10,000 letters. So actually the connection is that you received initiation from that spiritual master, you're connected to the disciplic succession, but you feel a little bit unsatisfied because you cannot really approach him. So then the role of a Shiksha Guru is very important, and that can be somebody in your area, as I mentioned, that is much senior, much more experienced, and that is inspiring you in your daily spiritual life. So that can be your Shiksha Guru. You can maybe say Shiksha Guru is somebody who's more coaching and like mentorship, somebody who's your mentor, that can become your Shiksha Guru. Now, scriptures, they say that there is no difference between Diksha and Shiksha. In other words, maybe you have heard that term before, Guru is one. Yeah, Guru is one. So it's not that the Diksha Guru says something different from the Shiksha Guru or vice versa. They speak the same truth. But we talked about 4 gurus, right? We only discussed 2 now. So what are the other 2 gurus? Hmm?
I don't know.
Sometimes, especially in the New Age groups, they say all the knowledge is already in you. So we call that Supreme Personality of Godhead who is situated in your heart as the Paramatma. You've heard of the Paramatma, the Super Soul in your heart. So the Super Soul in your heart is called the Chaitya Guru. Chaitya Guru. It's the universal Guru who lives in everyone's heart as the Super Soul or as Super Consciousness. Yeah. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshu Arjuna Tishtati. Krishna says in the 18th chapter of the Gita that I live in everyone's heart, in a place called Hrid, the heart. I live in everyone's heart, and I direct the wanderings of all living entities. So the Super Soul gives the karma, the Super Soul makes things happen, the Super Soul knows your destiny, the Super Soul does everything. He's the maintainer of the universes. So the Super Soul lives in your heart together with your soul and can give you direct knowledge or inspiration. Now, what do you think? Can we say that I don't need Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru? I take the Super Soul as my Guru.
It won't be possible.
I don't need Guru. Guru is in my heart. Super Soul is there. Finished. My Guru lives in me. No need for a Guru. What is wrong there?
Don't receive instructions.
Maybe I get instructions.
We are not pure enough.
Ah, good, Hilda. Maybe we are not pure enough. You know, the problem is that when you are not yet a pure devotee, when you still have material desires, when your mind still gives you maybe 1,000 signals every second, you have noticed that the mind tells you a lot of things. You know, like today I was on my work, and then you know, when I'm in the office in Antwerp, many times there are colleagues who they have their birthday and they take to the office some cookies or cakes or or some snacks, whatever. And then I never take because the eggs can be inside or it's not offered. So I try to be strict. But if I would listen to my mind, then what happens? I feel a little bit hungry. It's still 1 hour before lunchtime. And I know there are a lot of cookies there in the 2 desks from me. So my body says, I would like a cookie. The mind immediately jumps and starts giving me instructions, Come on, Ekacakragram, you can have a cookie. I really have to be strong with my intelligence, My intelligence says, no, we're not going to take it because it's not offered and maybe there are eggs inside. So you can eat your prasadam that you have with you in 1 hour. So please tolerate, okay? So you can say that what my mind says now, please take a cookie is my guru. I get instructions from inside to take that cookie. So how do we know? Is it the super soul or is it the mind?
The mind.
Can we say that ego is going into the way of the Shiksha Guru?
Yeah. Yeah, because the ego, the false ego, we should say,
Yeah.
not the real ego,
Yeah.
but the false ego.
That's what I mean, sorry.
Yeah, no, good, Marcel. So the false ego wants to be the enjoyer. The real ego wants to be the servant. That's the difference between real ego and false ego. The real ego wants to serve God. The false ego wants to be God, right? So if you're not yet pure, the mind starts to tell you a lot of things. And maybe sometimes the super soul also says something, but it's very difficult in the conditioned state of life to determine what is the super soul and what is the mind, because both is quite subtle and comes from within, you see? So therefore, in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, it's clearly mentioned, unless you have full control of your senses and your mind, you cannot read the super soul. So therefore, the super soul is, of course, the spiritual master, the universal spiritual master, because all the knowledge comes from within, all the inspiration comes from within. But because the ego is there and the mind is there, you hear too many instructions to determine what is pure and what is impure.
Diksha and Shiksha.
So that's why we need a Diksha and a Shiksha Guru, because if we feel something from inside, like for example, my mind says, hey, eat that cookie. Don't be so strict, Ekacakragram, just eat that cookie. So if I doubt, is this the mind or is this the super soul? Then I go to my spiritual master. Or you go to the scriptures. You have always Guru, Sadhu, Scripture, and super soul. These are our 4 guides. Yeah? So Sadhu means the devotees around you. Guru, your authority, spiritual authority. Shastra, scriptures. What does the scripture say about eating things with eggs, etc.? And 4 is indeed the super soul. So whatever you hear from a devotee, you can check with scripture and guru. Whatever you read in scripture, you can check with devotees and spiritual masters. So you can always have 3 or 4 authorities to check if it's really correct what we feel. Yeah? Double, triple checks. But Paramatma in the heart is definitely a guru. So that's the 3rd guru. But we still miss 1. So we had Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, and Checha Guru.
Diksha. Diksha.
Shiksha, Diksha, and Checha. But we have a 4th one, and actually the 4th one should be the first one. Let me ask you a question. How did you come in contact with Srila Prabhupada's movement? Was there anyone in your surroundings who said something to you that made you curious or interested? Who introduced you to Krishna consciousness? Who was the person? Can you think of that? Huh? Dayal
Yes.
Dayal was the first person you came in contact with. So
Yes, Ekacakragram.
you can say Dayal is your Patta Pradarshana Guru.
Okay.
Patta Pradarshana Guru. Patta means the path, the right path.
Mhm.
And Pradarshana, darshan means to see, is one who shows you. So the person who shows you the way, he is your Patta Pradarshana Guru.
Okay.
So that's the first one who hints you into the right direction.
Mhm.
For me, it was my very best friend. When I was 17, I came in contact with him, and he was so much more interested in alternative things than materialism. And he, had the Bhagavad-gita in the house of his parents, and he brought it, and we together started reading it. So for me, he is my Patta Pradarshana Guru. He showed me the way. So these are the four spiritual masters that we have in our life. Patta Pradarshana Guru, the one who shows you for the first time the path. Shiksha Guru, one who gives you instructions. Diksha Guru is one who initiates you. And then Chaitya Guru is the Guru in the heart, the super soul who guides you, who becomes more and more relevant when you become purified, because then you get also from within direct indications and instructions.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes.
So for me, this verse 434, Prabhupada also writes a beautiful purport. You can read for yourself the purport of Prabhupada. Very important, because without spiritual master, we cannot actually progress in spiritual life. That doesn't mean that you immediately have to take initiation from a spiritual master, but it means in our international society for Krishna Consciousness, we always advise everyone to first accept Srila Prabhupada as your Siksha Guru, your first Siksha Guru, the one who gives you instructions by reading his books and his purports. Yeah, so for ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada is everyone's Siksha Guru. That doesn't mean that there cannot be other Siksha Gurus in your life, but Srila Prabhupada is always the source. He created this movement, and his books are the basis. When anyone says something to you, you might ask that person, where can I read that in Prabhupada's books? Where is the authority? And if it's not anywhere in his books, then it might be speculation. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is our main Siksha Guru. All right? Okay, so let's go to the second instruction in the Bhagavad-gita that I choose. So one is to accept the spiritual master. And two, the instruction that Krishna gives to Arjuna is to tolerate. Actually, the very, very first real instruction that Krishna gives to Arjuna is to learn how to tolerate. And this is the verse. The verse is 2.14. Matra sparshas tu konteya shitoshna sukha dukada agama payino nityas tam titikshasva bharata. So titikshasva means to tolerate. And there are different things that we need to learn how to tolerate. Anyone recognizes one or more words in Sanskrit in this verse that you have heard of before?
Yeah. Sukha, dukkha.
Ah.
Yeah.
Suk, duk, huh?
Sukha and dukkha. Anyone knows what these terms mean?
Suk is happiness and duk is sorrow, grief.
Right. So do you think that in life, in material life, these two things are there?
In material
Sukha.
life, yes, definitely.
Both are there, right?
Yes.
And they can change in a matter of a few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, you drive in your car and you're on the way to the mountains in Switzerland or whatever. Everybody's very happy. We go to the mountains, and then suddenly you have a flat tire. So you're very excited and happy, and suddenly there is something happens that you didn't foresee, and then you have to call the road assistance, and then you have to wait 2-3 hours before they come, and then you get a big bill. You have to pay a lot of money in a foreign country, and then somehow or other everything goes wrong. So sometimes you have the dukkha, the miseries, and sometimes you have the happiness. So here it says that you have to tolerate things that are related to sensory perception. Heat and cold, winter and summer, happiness and distress, all these things we have to learn how to tolerate. And this is the translation. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent, the temporary appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So the very first instruction that Krishna gives to Arjuna. Why is it so important to learn to tolerate both distress, but we also need to learn to tolerate material happiness? Yeah? So in other words, materially speaking, we have to learn to become a bit more neutral, because here it's clearly mentioned the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. One moment we are happy. If we completely lose ourselves in material happiness, then as soon as it is taken away from us, then we are in complete anxiety and frustrated. And we should also know that when there is some happiness in our lives, that we also realize that any moment it can be taken away from us. So if you can maybe compare it to when you swim in the ocean and there are big waves, and if you see that a huge wave is coming your way, then what is the best thing to do?
Run away.
You go under. Yeah, because if you go a little bit deeper in the ocean, everything is peaceful and steady. If you remain on the surface, then sometimes you go high, and sometimes you go down very deep, and sometimes a wave can hit you and you fall unconscious. So if you want to be peaceful, then you go deep into the ocean. So this is compared in the Bhagavad-gita, that if you remain on the surface, then you will always be influenced by temporary happiness and temporary distress. And that means your consciousness is always unstable, sometimes happy, sometimes distressed. I have colleagues on my job. One day they are completely excited, and the next day they are completely depressed. They're like the waves of the material ocean. So Krishna, he recommends us to tolerate all these temporary moments of happiness and distress without being disturbed. We have a very good example. This is an episode from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Lord Nityananda Prabhu, under the instruction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was trying to share Krishna consciousness with others, and there were some demoniac persons, Jagai and Madai, and they became completely upset with the attempts of Nityananda Prabhu to make them devotees of Krishna, because they were drunkards and they were thieves and they were woman hunters. So they were not at all interested in Krishna consciousness, and they became actually quite upset with Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So much so that Madai, one of the two brothers, actually hit Lord Nityananda. You can see that here. Lord Nityananda has some blood on his face. So, and then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he wanted to chastise Madai for this offense. But Nityananda Prabhu, he fully tolerated this this act of violence towards himself. So he was completely tolerant. And he actually wanted Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to not chastise him, because he said, sometimes happiness is there, sometimes distress is there. In fact, why is this the very first instruction of the Bhagavad-gita? Because it is mentioned in the scriptures that this material world has 3 different kinds of misery that happen to all of us. And they are called in Sanskrit Adhyatmika klesha, Adhibhautika klesha, and Adhidaivika klesha. Klesha means misery. Now, Adhyatmika klesha means the misery that comes from our body and our mind. Sometimes you have physical inconveniences, sometimes you have a lot of pain. I don't think any one of you never became sick, or that any of you never had excruciating pain in the body. Are you lucky, one of the lucky ones that never had any serious disease or pain?
If only that could be true.
I was one time in India and I had blood dysentery. I had to go to the toilet for like 25 times a day, and at one point only blood came out. And I felt so extremely miserable that I actually asked Krishna, can you please just let me die? It's too much. I'm suffering so deeply that you better end my life now. So that's Adhyatmika klesha. This is miseries containing to the body, but also miseries that pertain to the mind. Do you relate to that? That the mind can also make us miserable?
Yes.
Do you sometimes become tired by your mind? Who's laughing, Johan?
Yeah. Me, yes.
Yes, sometimes you become a bit tired by the mind. So many crazy things that the mind can tell you,
Yes.
Sometimes the mind makes us very depressed. So this is Adhyatmika klesha. Then you have Adhibhautika klesha, means miseries that come from other living entities. Maybe also you can relate to that, living entities that give you a hard time. Maybe human beings. I had periods in my life that I was thinking, if this one person would not exist, my life would be so much better. You recognize that? Somebody who bullied you, or somebody who really gave you a hard time for, days or weeks or months, that was just, and then you think, if this person would not be there, then my life would be so much better. Or it could also be mosquitoes in the summer. Everybody of you have had that feeling that you want to go to bed, and then you want to wake up early, but then as soon as you almost fall asleep, you have this irritating noise of the mosquito in your ear, or you have so many flies, or you have wasps, or you have whatever. So miseries that come from other living entities. And then you have Adhidevika klesha. And Adhidevika klesha means suffering that comes from natural disturbances like heavy rain or floods or a fire or a hurricane or a tornado or something like that. So these 3 different kleshas are there, and therefore we have to learn to tolerate, because it will come on our path anyway. Now, the first level of titikshava, that word titikshava, is to tolerate, but to tolerate is more like passive. And to tolerate is more linked to bodily discomforts, miseries that come from the body, or miseries that come from natural disturbances. But a little bit higher or more active is what we can see that Lord Nityananda Prabhu did. He not only tolerated the injury in his face and that somebody threw a clay pot in his face, but he actually upgraded his tolerance and made it into forgiveness. So titikshava also means to forgive. Yeah, so if somebody gives you a hard time, then it's very good to tolerate it, but tolerate is a little bit cold or a little bit impersonal. It's like, okay, I tolerate it. Krishna wants me to tolerate, and I just grind my teeth and I tolerate. But it's not such a warm emotion, right? To just tolerate. It can make you a little bit hard-hearted. Yeah. So therefore, if we can upgrade that tolerance into forgiveness, that's very beautiful. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu, his forgiveness capacity was so big that actually by his mercy, he prevented Lord Chaitanya to actually kill them. And not only that, but he made them into pure devotees, because by his extreme kindness, these two demons, they realized the amazing nature of Nityananda Prabhu. How is it that a person who I just hit with a pot and blood is pouring over his face, that person is praying for us and embracing us and being kind to us? So they became so touched by the kindness of Lord Nityananda that they became pure devotees themselves. And then I mentioned here is first you tolerate, then you forgive. And if you can forgive, then you can actually give. Make sense? Yeah. Just it's a little bit, yeah, I can see if you understand this. Before giving, be forgiving before giving. So first you have to forgive others before you can actually start to give to that person. And I remember on book distribution, many times you wanted to distribute books to people on the street, Prabhupada's books, and then sometimes they would yell at you, or sometimes they want to throw the book on the floor, or they want to physically attack you, or they said something very nasty, like, why don't you find a job? Why don't you do something useful? So just tolerating it is not so warm, but if you actually forgive them for their ignorance, then it's very easy to afterwards give. So that's the beauty of tolerance. Okay, so that's the verse 2.14 you can read. Actually, it's nice in Prabhupada's purport of this verse. Prabhupada gives the example that in India, you have and in the winter without heating system. So Prabhupada, he gives the example that in the summer, although it's very, very hot, the ladies who do the cooking, they actually don't hesitate to make a fire to start cooking. Even if it's so hot, they continue their duty without, just by tolerating the heat. And in the winter, although it's very cold, and the Ganges is very cold also in the winter, but still you have to take bath every day. So in the winter, you still take a bath in the cold water of the Ganges because it's your duty. So you tolerate it without being disturbed. So that's what Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Okay, so let's do one more verse. Then we have done 3 verses of the Gita. The third one, Krishna very clearly tells Arjuna that he should not lament, stop lamenting. You all know the word lamenting?
Yeah.
In Dutch, it's klagen.
Mhm.
Klagen en zagen. You lament. You catch yourself sometimes that you're lamenting. Johan, a little bit?
Sometimes.
Yes. How many of you never lament? How many of you lament sometimes? Yeah, everyone. Yeah. So Krishna very clearly says you should not lament. And we'll give the verse. 225. You can write it down and later on read it more in depth. Avyakto yam achintyo yam avikeyo yam uchate tashmat evam viditvainam na nushochutum arasi. There are like 6-7 verses quite close to each other where Krishna says na anusochitam. Sochitum means to lament. Na nusochitum. You should not lament at any time. This is the translation. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So this is one of the main instructions in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, that there is a difference between the soul, you as a person, and the covering, which is the body, which is your vehicle. So because the vehicle is temporary and is actually designed in a way that it will always cause suffering, therefore, knowing this, that you are eternal, but that the body is temporary, therefore you should not grieve for the body, you should not lament for the body. Sometimes people, they say, the philosophy of Krishna Consciousness is so negative. You know, the body is temporary and it's only pain, and this material world is full of suffering. So it's so negative. But I remember the very first Sunday Feast lecture that I heard as a guest in Amsterdam Temple. There was one sannyasi. Yes, Marcel, you want to ask something?
Yes, I did not want to interrupt you, but is it also the situation with overthinking and psychological problems, anxieties, etc., or is it just lamenting about a hurting knee or a headache or something?
Well, the second verse that I showed was about tolerance, and there I mentioned that you have to tolerate your body and your mind, because both give you disturbances. It's a little bit more difficult to tolerate the mind than the body, because mental pain or depression or burnouts, they, you know, are so deeply affecting your feelings and your emotions that it's very difficult to actually transcend those mental obstacles. So mental pain is much more difficult to overcome than physical pain. Like if you are mentally very stable and you hurt your finger or you have a little headache, you know, you can overcome it. But if you are in a burnout or in a depression, then it's very, very difficult to transcend that pain. But actually, in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, it's very nicely explained that your mind can be your friend and can be your enemy. And the mind that is controlled by superior intelligence is your friend. And the mind that is uncontrolled is your enemy, because it makes you very restless. But in this verse, Krishna, it's at the very beginning of the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna is still in the phase with Arjuna where he explains the difference between body and the soul. The eternal soul is different from the temporary body. And if you know that the soul is eternal, that you are eternal, you are not supposed to lament too much about something that is so temporary. Philosophically, that makes sense. I remember I told this story a few times in different lectures that I gave in the past, but it's a very vivid story, that there was one man in Eindhoven who had an old-timer, and he spent weeks and months to really make it a very beautiful old-timer. He really upgraded the old-timer, he refurbished the old-timer. So he was very proud and happy driving around in that old-timer of his. And we were in another car. We were sankirtan devotees. And we were in Eindhoven, and we were supposed to go on sankirtan in the city of Eindhoven. So we came from the highway, and the driver was a person from the East European countries. I think it was Slovakia or something. And he was not such a good experienced driver. So when he came from the highway with 120 kilometers per hour, and he wanted to brake and slow down in order to, wait for the traffic lights, because there was like a roundabout there. But instead of braking, he accidentally pushed the gas, and then he couldn't anymore keep the curve. So we were flying in the sky for like 7-8 meters. And so with the 4 sankirtan devotees in the car, we were flying, and we actually ended our flight in the old-timer of this man. So our car was in the old-timer, and I was watching while we were flying. He looked at us, he saw us coming, he stepped out of his car, and then we hit his car. So his car was completely total loss. And he started to cry and scream. And literally, he was shouting very loudly, "My life, my everything is all lost now." So he was so attached to his vehicle that the damage that happened in the vehicle was directly affecting his whole being. So similarly, if we understand that the body is the covering of the soul, it's just your temporary vehicle, if you can detach yourself a little bit from the external vehicle, then even if there is some damage or some problems, or you are growing old and the body weakens, still, because you don't identify so strongly with the vehicle, therefore you can much easier tolerate the things that happen with the body. And I remember the first Sunday feast lecture that I heard, I was still a bit skeptical, because this Swami was all the time talking about the temporary body that is full of suffering. And then at the end, one of the guests raised his hand and he said, the body can be quite pleasurable, actually. And then this sannyasi, he gave a very nice example. He says, yes, there is definitely some pleasure in the body. But if you compare it to the amount of suffering that the body gives, then there is actually no comparison. And then he gave the example, maybe you've heard it before, but he said, maybe everybody in this room can show his finger. So everybody raised his finger. And he said, now, let's take this part of your body, the finger. How much pleasure can you squeeze out of this finger? Now, everybody was a bit puzzled, because, what can you do with this finger to make it pleasurable? Something you can, I have some little cream here, you see? Nice cream from the kruidvat. Nice. And you can maybe massage. You can massage the finger, it becomes nice and soft. You can give some satisfaction to it, or maybe can give a kiss on your finger, maybe give some pleasure, I don't know. So this is what the sannyasi said. So how much pleasure you get out of this finger? Not much, no? What do you think, Ivan? A lot of pleasure out of this finger?
I just hurt in my finger today in the kitchen.
Good. So now we come to the essence. Then the sannyasi said, okay, so not much pleasure out of this finger, but now you take a hammer, you put your finger on the desk, and you hit your finger with the hammer. How much pain you experience coming from this finger?
A lot.
A lot, huh? Oh yeah,
Yes.
You start dancing in the room out of pain,
Yeah.
So he said, actually, every part of your body is like that. Not so much pleasure that you can get out of it. Even sexual pleasure, that the whole world is around that pleasure, it only lasts a few minutes. It only lasts a few minutes. And for the rest, there is not much pleasure there. But you can have a lot of pain.
That's
from
true.
that. Yeah. So in other words, and that is, I don't want to be so pessimistic, but in other words, this material world is not created to enjoy endless happiness. I can see the example of my dear mother, a person very much in goodness, wonderful relationship with my father. My father passed away 5 years ago, and my mother says a few times that the amount of happiness that I received to be together with him in my life for 60 years, that all turns against me now because he's not anymore there. I have to give it all up, and I'm in a vacuum. In other words, happiness in this material world is not unconditional. It's conditioned happiness. It's dependent on many circumstances to experience a little bit happiness. But the amount of grief that we experience in this world, if we are too attached to the body and the mind, is endless. So therefore, Krishna very clearly says, try to tolerate, and please stop lamenting if you have some pain in the mind or in the body, because it's a temporary vehicle. Try to focus on the soul, and the soul is full of bliss, full of knowledge, and eternal. So if you go to the soul, then you are eternally happy and peaceful. If you focus on the body, it's like ups and down, and the older you become, the more it actually goes down, because the body deteriorates and the mind becomes weaker and weaker. So that's why spiritual life is very important, the practice of spiritual life, and it starts with a very solid foundation of spiritual knowledge. And the Bhagavad-gita is so important. It has 700 verses, and if you read it again and again and again, you get really enriched with transcendental knowledge. And when your intelligence becomes surcharged with transcendental knowledge, it's much more easy to control your mind. That's my strong experience. Every day, a little bit reading of the Gita, just a few verses, focus on it. And the rest of your day, you feel so peaceful, and you can put everything in the context. Everything becomes more, relative in this world, and not so absolute anymore. Okay, so it's 8:05. I went over time. I'm so sorry. These are 3 out of the 11 verses that I highlight from the Gita. I would suggest we continue next time. We go
Lots
to
of
the
pleasure.
other. Is that okay, Ivan?
Yes, with lots of pleasure. Thank you. It was a
Good.
nice session.
So it's maybe basic, but I think to repeat it and to share it, it helps. And it's easier to do this for 1 hour with a group than to do it individually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We will suggest timing for the next session. It could be that we do it on Thursdays, once in a month, from 7 to 8. It's fine for me.
Would be great.
It could also,
That would be great on
Yes.
Thursday. Yes, please.
Is that for everybody okay? 7 till
That's
8?
okay for
once a
me.
month?
Yes.
Yes, it's perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Because maybe by doing this, we create some stability, because if one day it's Tuesday, once it's Saturday, then it's Thursday, then it's maybe a little bit chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will discuss with Shamsaki, and she will send a new invite for next month on a Thursday from 7 till 8.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, everyone.
Okay, Shakra, for you.